the side profile of the house. Enormous, absolutely enormous. Hello world, it's your Unkle Heavy. Today I'm on location in Oyster Bay, New York. That's right, I'm on Long Island. And of course, since I'm out trying to vlog, it's another rainy day, but that doesn't bother me. This behind me is known as Sagamore Hill. It was the summer home of Theodore Roosevelt. We're gonna go in there, take a tour, see what's going on, and I'm bringing y'all with me. Already got my tickets. Let's go see what kind of trouble I can get into. Do you come along?
Unkle Heavy!
Unkle Heavy!
Unkle Heavy!
Lots and lots of sprawling grounds. Plenty of place to walk and nice bench for a sit. If it wasn't raining, I'd stop for a sit, but it's raining. And here is my grand reveal for the day. Look at this. Look at this house. Just look at it. Absolutely beautiful. So this is actually what's considered the front porch and the main entrance. And you could see on the front porch the missing rail for where a stagecoach would come up and pick up and drop off passengers. Nestled near the north shore of Long Island in the village of Cove, New York, sits the beautiful estate of Sagamore Hill. Built in May of 1884, this 14,000 square foot Queen Anne styled home is best known as the home of President Theodore Roosevelt. President Roosevelt spent several summers as a child in the Oyster Bay area, and in 1880 he purchased the 155 acres of land it sits on now. He named it Sagamore Hill after the Algonquin word for tribal chief. During his presidency, it became known as the Summer Whitehouse, and many a diplomat have taken meetings with the president within its walls. He occupied the home until his death in 1919, and in 1962 the home became part of the National Park Service, who maintains it to this day. Each year, Sagamore Hill welcomes over 130,000 guests. So right off the bat, interesting bit of history here. You can see the railing is missing from the porch, and this was done on purpose because he would actually campaign from up here. He wanted everybody to see him, so it goes back to the front porch campaigning. Always cool history. So we get some exterior shots of the house. That's that huge front porch. Excellent flag flying. Here from a distance you can get a greater idea of exactly how large this house is. I want to focus in on this gold relief here on the side of the house. They sure knew how to decorate things back then. And of course, being Teddy Roosevelt's house, there is a set of antlers on the crest. Now, even though Roosevelt was known as a huge conservationist, he was also a big hunter. So from what I understand, there's a lot of trophy pieces in this house that we're going to see in a few minutes. Be prepared. A nice shot here of this windmill that used to bring water up from the spring, and then servants would actually bucket carry it to the top of the house, and they would hand fill a cistern which would feed the house with water. All right, we've seen the outside. Let's go see what's going on inside. Wow, it's dark now.
Yeah, you know, there was no electricity in this house until 1917. Everything was gas. And the reason being, every summer...
Look at this grand entrance here.
They're in his room.
Wow.
They're in her room.
So this is actually Roosevelt's office here. These were all his trophies. And on the desk there is what is left of what was the only telephone in Oyster Bay at the time.
Paxton Furness did most of the interiors in places like Morgan Library and such. Yeah.
This is known as his Wall of Heroes.
But anyway.
This is the side of Edith's parlor. And it was the largest room in the house. And she was very much into privacy. You had to knock before you could enter. Near the other side of Edith's parlor here. But that was Edith's desk right there. This was known as the family dinner bell. It was an elephant that he had shot on safari. They took the tusks and made a dinner bell out of it. So many trophies in this house. So many trophies. This was the dining room, and since this home was known as the Summer Whitehouse, many diplomatic meetings took place in this dining room here. You can see some of the silver pieces up against the wall. Very big moose on the wall.
When TR gets very friendly with him, when he is writing his books about the West, he's doing the illustrations of the war, but he is just...
And this here is actually the library. And over there, that little nook was known as his afternoon office. If you look, there's actually one of his Rough Rider hats. Interesting thing about this particular residence is there's these railings, because our guide told us 95% of the furniture are period pieces. They're actually from when the Roosevelts lived here.
One of them is MacArthur, the other under Roosevelt's. TR gets it after his death, but he gets it through D-Day. He lands on Utah Beach. He survives D-Day, only to die 3 weeks later of a heart attack. Yeah. But TR has the distinction of being the only American to not only earn the Congressional Medal of Honor, President 42. Yeah.
Kennedy was the youngest elected.
Yeah.
Love this grandfather clock. Just love them all. All this dark wood here too. It's kind of hard to see because it is dark, but the safe where the family fortune was held. And of course, the kitchen. Pretty typical for its time. Coal stove.
Because the boys' rooms are this way, but they're adjoining, but we can't walk through them. This is Alice.
The grand staircase.
Now, if you know any...
So you always like to film the water closets. This was all the modern plumbing, sink, tub, and commode. Alice's bedroom.
She marries Longwood,
another sled bed and another dead animal.
Ohio.
Lots of dead animals in this house. Another bathroom here with a modern shower. And bedroom. Old phonograph in that corner.
This is a real photograph, and I can't remember.
Do love the stained glass. I'm not sure if my camera's capturing it.
Very famous American photographer of Native Americans. During the day, everybody
Here's
would be
that
downstairs.
skylight from down below.
He'd write his books up there. This, of course, cools off the third floor.
This is the linen closet.
Right
These are all
there.
the servants' quarters in here. And
Most of them, yeah.
more servants' quarters.
He and his sons
And
got most of them.
I've mentioned this before in earlier videos that it's my understanding that the lodging that these homes provided for the servants were actually much nicer than they would be living in their real life. So it was almost like staying at a luxury hotel while being somebody's servant. Trunk room.
And he's driving through.
And more servants' quarters.
He must have had a sense of humor that was either given to him or he purchased it.
Wow, there's just so much to cover in this. This was his upstairs office. And he wrote his book at that desk right there. An owl up there. And there's a huge bearskin rug right in the middle of the floor. You can see that was a former gas light that was converted to electricity when the house got electricity. This was the eldest son's room. It used to be servants' quarters, but it was converted to his for when he stayed here. That's a gift from Kaiser Wilhelm. Look at this wardrobe in the corner here. And this bed with a kind of a creepy doll, but there's a bear on the chair. And this is some sort of a child crib that's screened in. This is the room where he actually passed away in.
Where he almost died in South America. His son.
Again, this style of the sled bed.
So if you look at that picture,
These are his actual riding boots right there.
how do we wind up with a town?
Look at this beautiful bed right here and all the details and the furniture. I always point this out. Somebody hand carved every little thing there. Relief of the children here, just outside their bedroom. So I wanted to film this because I've never seen this before. Now, this is your typical servant call button, but right here, this is basically an intercom. It was a hose that went down to the kitchen that you could talk down to the kitchen directly. Here is the bottom, that skylight to the light tower that we saw up in the attic. Got some farm barn buildings here. This is known as the chicken house, where they believed they stored chickens. And it looks like they also have a museum on site. Let's check this place out. Going back to his Wild West days here. Got his actual Rough Rider uniform here. That's very cool. Pretty tall guy. This is a sword that was actually surrendered to Roosevelt after the Battle of Santiago Heights. Here we see the top hat and mourning pin that Roosevelt wore at President McKinley's funeral. As a result of his using the Speak Softly and Carry a Big Stick campaign, many supporters gave him gifts of large sticks, and this is one of those examples right here. And they actually have the house china from the White House, the Roosevelt house china. These are Winchester and Springfield rifles used by Roosevelt in his African campaign. And these were given to Roosevelt in Egypt. That's nasty. You want to be on the receiving end of that dagger. You actually have his real binoculars here too. Well, we all know the story about Theodore Roosevelt and Mount Rushmore. If you don't, shame on you. Google it right now. Go ahead, I'll wait. This is kind of cool. Look at a little model of Sagamore House right out in the open. Gosh, even the model is huge. And this circles back to one of my older vlogs. This is the involvement of Eleanor and her young life and her involvement with her Uncle Theodore. His son Quentin was actually a pilot in World War I, and his plane was shot down, and this is actually an axle from his airplane. They say he actually died of a broken heart because of Quentin's death. Now we're hiking the nature trail down to the Sound. Look at this nice boardwalk we just discovered at the end of the nature trail. And look at this view. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Absolutely beautiful. Said it before, I'll say it again. Nature, you make it too easy to vlog. We'll both look this way. So we're gonna do it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, look. It never gets old. So if you look straight ahead in between those two trees, it's kind of hard to see from here, but that's Long Island Sound, where the trees open up into open water. And this all here is Oyster Bay. Beautiful. And look at some of these houses across the way. I'm going to be daring and walk through the sand to see if I can get a better shot of the water here. But just look at this beach. All this property we just walked on, all through that woods. And just behind that tree line is Sagamore Hill. But I'm going to move and see if I can get a better shot of it. I believe right there in the tree line is Sagamore Hill. Not sure. Before I leave this area, there's just one more thing I gotta do. So like most of my presidential home visits, I like to end it with the grave of that president, and today is no different. We're gonna go see Theodore Roosevelt's grave. And here we are. Final resting place of Theodore Roosevelt and his wife Edith. You can see he was a Medal of Honor recipient. Once again, I have to say, it's an honor to meet you. Just wish it was in different circumstances. So yeah, here's a nice side view of the grave. Never even knew he was buried in New York. Interesting trivia we did learn on the tour was that this is actually a private cemetery, and the family whose cemetery this belonged to at one time owned the land that Sagamore was built on, and he purchased that land from that family. And now he's buried here. He loved it here so much. This is where he wanted to spend eternity. All right, Michelle. That's another president done. Time to wrap up this video and get some Long Island pizza.
Huh?
Look at this pizza right here.
What? That's a Polish thing where it's pasta with potatoes in it.
I miss New York pizza.
No, it wasn't pasta with potatoes. It was the buckwheat pasta by itself, which I didn't like.
That's going to do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I really enjoyed making it. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned. I have so many more adventures coming very, very soon. Until next time, signing off from Oyster Bay, New York. Lovely Long Island. Bye-bye.
I say in closing, we stand with Armageddon, and we battle for the Lord.